I'm Daniel Duane, the author of How to Cook Like a Man, a memoir of cookbook obsession. How to Cook Like a Man is my story of teaching myself to cook as a way of coping with fatherhood and family life, as a way of finding a place in the domestic sphere after the birth of my first child. My journey toward learning to cook began with the birth of my first child and with this imperative for my wife and I that one of us had to change the diapers every evening and one of us had to put dinner on the table. And I chose dinner. I chose dinner largely because it involved knives and power tools and getting to tell people to leave me alone while I taught myself skills that seemed pretty fun to learn anyway. Pretty quickly, the cooking turned into an obsession, and I mean that in the truest sense. I'm a pretty obsessive personality. I began to feel that, well, if I were to practice guitar for an hour every night, maybe I'd get a little better at guitar. So why not treat cooking that way? So I began to sort of lay out these cookbooks that I wanted to, sort of master somehow, and that I would check off the recipes and cook every recipe in them. And then dinner every night became an opportunity to check off a certain number of recipes. And the more recipes, the better, because the goal wasn't really to please anybody. The goal wasn't really to express love or give or any of the things that cooking is supposed to be about. The goal was really just to bang out enough recipes to feel that I had accomplished something. And so we would have these crazy, ridiculous meals, like the one my wife still refers to as Cardoon's 5 Ways. And most people probably don't even know what Cardoons are. I didn't even know what they were. Cardoons are they're like wild celery for dinosaurs. They look like these giant, horrible thistle stalk things. You would never eat them unless you were like in a famine, in a war zone, and they were the only thing growing wild or something. Over the years, I have really mellowed. The biggest influence, the biggest factor, the thing that sort of has forced me to mellow the most, I guess, has been my daughters growing up. They're now 6 and 9. When they were 2 and 4 or something, they weren't eating at the same time of day as we were. They're not going to eat the same stuff anyway. And so I could justify I felt like I had to make like a kid dinner anyway every night. So it'd be like mac and cheese at 5 o'clock or, hot dogs at 5 o'clock for the kid, whatever they would eat. And then, pigeon and squab and all this other stuff at 7 for my wife and myself. Once my girls could actually sit at the dinner table with us, I felt this new emotional imperative to please them. And I began desperately wanting to please them. I began dearly, dearly wanting my daughters to feel, to like the food that I was making. Initially, I just wanted them to like it. But over time, I came to understand that embedded in that desire of mine for them to like the food is another desire, which is really a desire for them to feel loved by my food.